Do my makeup with me while I tell you about why I quit my job at a beauty store after working there for 10 years. Let's get started. I don't have a mirror. Graduated high school. I graduated like 6 months before everybody else did. Now, my dream was to go to beauty school and be an esthetician / a makeup artist, right? Everybody wanted to be a makeup artist. It was like I graduated high school 2015 or something like that. Met a girl when I was in skincare school who told me that she was the esthetician at the place that I wanted to work at and that she could get me a job there. I applied. The general manager at the time calls me. I remember exactly, but I believe she said something along the lines of, I'm not sure if we have hours for esthetician or not, but I'm gonna have you come in and apply with the salon manager. I said, okay, perfect. Interview with the salon manager. She literally in the first couple of minutes of this interview tells me, I'm gonna be straight up with you. I really love the girl who recommended you, so we do want to hire you. There are no hours for esthetician right now. That should have been red flag number 1. This was not the first time in my career working for this beauty store that something like this happened, where I was told one thing and then another thing was actually going on. Took the prestige position. I'll just be prestige, no problem. Which meant that I would be selling makeup, wearing a brush belt, you know, trying makeup on people, blah, blah, blah. First shift, I get put on the truck. I was too slow because the manager who was the truck manager at the time was like, I'm gonna put you on the register when the store opened, and not what I applied for at all. I was under the impression, you know, that I was gonna be a salesperson on the fucking register. And I start getting trained to do register stuff. This is not what I signed up for. This isn't what I thought working here was gonna be like. You know, I went to, let me blend my neck before I fucking say the rest because I didn't know. I felt like when I got my license, it was going to be facials and skincare knowledge and teaching people how to do their makeup properly. A company promised me something and they gave me a role that wasn't the role that I was promised. I meet a girl, we become best friends. We're still best friends to this day. She pretty much tells me that she is prestige. She pretty much taught me like everything I know about makeup. I started hanging out with this girl. They started, you know, actually giving me sales shifts and making sure that they were actually people that were going to be there during the day to work on the register, not just me. Because a lot of times it was just me at the register by my fucking self. All day long, mind you, I'm like still new. Don't forget, this is important. They promised me the esthetician position. They said when there's hours, we will give it to you. The girl that got me the job, she ended up leaving. They did not even ask me if I wanted to apply. You guys promised me this role years ago. The role's finally open and now you're not even asking if I want the role. You're giving it to someone else. Like they didn't even ask me. Continue to be prestige. Then at one point, I actually become the manager of the entire department. Who would have thunk it? It felt like they were treating me like shit and like overlooking me and forgetting the fact that I had a fucking license. And an opportunity presented itself and they asked me if I wanted to interview to be the prestige manager. So like the sales manager of the high-end department. I hated it. I was the youngest manager. I think I was like 19 at the time. Actually 20. I don't fucking remember. Something around there. I wasn't 21 yet. I felt like I was getting the shit end of the stick. It felt like all the other managers were giving me kind of like the shitty roles. I remember closing a lot by myself on Fridays and Saturdays. I just remember feeling really unsupported. I had to do a lot of paperwork. And I mean, it could be me just remembering things incorrectly because it was a long time ago and I was really young. So maybe I was just being naive and they were actually having to pick up the slack for me. Like, I'm not going to complain too much about that aspect of it. I just remember that I did not like it. I was pretty close with a lot of the managers. Did tell them like, hey, I'm not super happy in this role. And they actually told me that there was going to be a new role opening up I might like better, getting a brand called Clinique. At the same hours, the same pay, everything would be the same, like you'd still be full-time, benefits, all that shit. I worked for Clinique for a while, loved people and I loved helping people with makeup and everything. There was just something that didn't feel right to me. So I took like a 6-month hiatus. When I got hired back after COVID, they told me that I would just be prestige again. And then they said, oh, there's an opportunity coming. This high-end brand is coming, it's brand new, like we want you to apply for kind of what I was doing for Clinique. Clinique, I was a boutique manager. Like I managed the brand. I don't think I explained that before. A boutique is pretty much the highest role that you can get. The role of prestige is pretty high, but then right after that is boutique. And boutiques don't check people out. They don't like, they really shouldn't like answer phones or, you know, do truck or anything. Whereas prestige, you're still kind of like, you're higher, but you're still doing other things. Like you're not just selling, you're still expected to do other things around the store. Interview just like everybody else. I get it. I brought the brand into the store. They were doing astronomically well. There was a point where me and if you remember the girl I told you about that I became best friends with, we both brought new brands into the store as boutique managers for those brands. And at one point, someone from corporate came and told us that we were in like the top 10 for the region for sales for those brands. None of our management told us in the store. We didn't get any kind of recognition. We didn't get any kind of anything. And she wasn't even there in the store that day to tell us that. She just happened to be there and decided to let us know, which it's like if she wouldn't have let us know, we would have never known. When I worked for Clinique, my numbers were so good that I had allotted enough hours to have an extra person come in, like another Clinique person to come in. And since I did that, the next like 5 or so years that I worked for the company, nobody else was able to do that. Can be a little conceited if I want to be, because recognition is important. I believe that if you're working for a major company and you are busting your ass and they're really on your ass about sales, I do believe that that company should take time to give you recognition, to tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And ever since I started working there, I did not feel like I got enough recognition ever. I felt very taken advantage of. A couple years go by, I'm busting my ass, I'm doing good with my numbers. My father gets sick, and I will honestly say that my father getting sick did in fact affect my performance at work. Like it truly did. 2023 and 2024 were extremely hard years for me and my family. My numbers were really bad at work. I told the manager so they would know that there was something going on, and so they all were aware of the situation. I was never given any kind of like help or advice. Like nobody was like, oh, maybe you should take a leave, or maybe you should blah, blah, blah. Like nobody ever told me anything like that. Like they kind of just were like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, like supportive of course, but nobody ever said, hey Sydney, did you know that you could take like a leave of absence, or hey Sydney, did you know, just like racked up a lot of like attendance infractions. And I'm saying this to say that there is, so the company that I work for does have a program where you can take a leave of absence. On December of 2024, my father did pass away. I took my bereavement, and when I came back, it was extremely difficult to be there. I started thinking maybe I shouldn't work for the same brand anymore. Maybe I'm like having a hard time being back here because I came back to the exact same thing. Maybe what I should do is work for a different brand. So I asked, hey, can I work for a different brand? Is there any opportunities? Oh my God, yes, there is. One of my friends had gotten promoted, so her position was open. Oh my God, I just put black under my eyes. What the fuck? I need to clean my brushes. Her job was open, and it was for another big brand. I applied, something happened, and nobody ever interviewed me. I was one of the first people to apply. I never got an interview. They did not consider me at all. I still to this day will not believe anyone when they tell me like what happened. I just was brushed under the rug. Forgot to mention that a new general manager had started in December of 2024. So when I got back, like she didn't know me. She pretty much ignored the fact that I wanted to apply for this other role. But I believe that there were a lot of people being dishonest with me about why I wasn't being considered for the role. Because then all of a sudden, one of the girls that I did not think deserved the role at the time got the role over me. Now, when you look at both of our experience and our credentials, I should have gotten the role and not her. But I was ignored and pushed under the rug. That's awesome. Then I go on vacation. My general manager tried to call me and pretty much was like, I really need to talk to you. It's gonna have to be in person, blah, blah, blah. Fine. I get back to work. She brings me into the office to basically tell me that the brand as a whole, so it had nothing to do with me. Like I said, I admitted I had a really bad time sales-wise in those years that my dad was sick. But she tells me it has nothing to do with you. However, the brand has decided that they are going to cut all the roles that they have across the entire company. This was not just my store, my location, my fault. This was a corporate-wide, company-wide decision that they were no longer going to have that role. This is how I'm going to talk now, and you're just going to have to deal with it. They're not going to have the role anymore, but we're going to keep your hours the same, your benefits the same, blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, what about my pay? General manager was like, she was like, well, I fought and fought and fought for you. I never know to trust people or not. And I feel like corporate people are trained on what to say, and they don't want you to leave, so they'll tell you anything to get you to not leave it. A almost $5 pay cut. Now at this point, it's 2025. I'm finding this out in May of 2025. Technically, July of 2025 would have been 10 years working for this company. They tell me that they couldn't do anything about my pay. I had to threaten to quit like 2 or 3 years prior just to get a raise because I didn't feel like I was making enough for how much I was selling and putting into that company. I went above and beyond. And I'm not going to go on and on about how good I was for the company or whatever, but just know that I work my fucking ass off for the company, and everyone knows it. It was just so upsetting. My father always told me, like, don't chase the dollar. And I had hated working for that company for so long that once the dollar was gone, it's like, what am I chasing? May of 2025 up until October of 2025, I had a lot of awakenings and just moments of clarity and realized like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve what has happened to me. There's no job security. There was also all the attendance infractions, managers not being trained properly on how to help you and to save you before you drown is ridiculous to me. And struggling so hard with grief. And if you've struggled with grief, you know how fucking hard it is. I felt very unsupported. Nobody told me I could take a leave. Nobody told me until it was too late. Okay. And I reached my mental end and I said, I cannot do this anymore. I'm quitting. I don't care if I have another job or not. I'm fucking quitting because there's no point in me being here anymore. Everything is just so false promised and just corporate greed. And it's just disgusting to me, honestly. And I'm not going to say the name of the company. If you want to guess, you can. I'm not going to say if you're right or not in the comments. The people that work there now are still being very unfairly treated. I think it's a lot of lies to keep you where you need to be so that They just have a body in the store. I don't think that they respect or appreciate anybody. They don't. I've watched it happen. So I just bummed myself out. For 10 years of working there, I finally was like, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm done. And I quit. Genuinely couldn't fucking take it anymore. My mental health was at like a 0. I literally felt so unsupported and misrepresented. And the other thing too is that I didn't have a job anymore. Like I didn't have a role. I was a manager at one point. I was a key holder. I was 2 different kinds of brand managers, like really high roles to nothing, to just like a cashier that was ringing people out all day and like having to do truck and all this again. I'm like, is this 10 years ago? Did I just go back in time? Now, all these years later, I realize how bad it really was for me. And there's just still so much more that I could say about all the shit that went on there. Very heartbreaking to give your heart and soul to something and then turn around and feel like they could care less about you at the end of the day. I think that's my problem. Like that in your workplace, then you shouldn't be at that workplace anymore. That last year, I really would like text my boyfriend and be like, I fucking am crying again. Like I left, I'm crying, I'm in the bathroom, I'm crying. Like I just felt like nobody really understood how it felt. I lost my father. I come back, I'm pretty much losing my job in a way. Like I did lose my job. I felt like I had no purpose. I just felt very empty and draining, and you know, and it's not for anybody else to understand, but I hope that if you're in a similar situation that you can get something out of this and know that, you know, the world doesn't revolve around these stupid little petty fucking retail jobs. Like you're much better than that. Let me know if anyone wants to know like more trauma tales from the job, because I have more. But this was just kind of like the why the fuck I quit after 10 years.